The objective of the defendant is to associate them all, do damage to them all, and destroy them all. Somehow that statement carries a lot of irony. The orchestrated attack was meant, as can be seen in the article, to stop a rebranding. New plans were in the making to entirely ditch Digital Homicide as a ruined brand due to the defendant's actions prior to and within the article. Defendant had made false statements multiple times. Oh, James. Well, let's take a look. So when we last left our plaintiff, James Oliver Romine Jr., he had filed a response to Jim Sterling's motion to dismiss, and the judge had ordered the only way the case could go forward is if he amended his complaint in a certain way. So I've just been notified by my fan base here, thank you very much, Carlos Garces, I don't know, thank you very much. And I thought I would do a short video here explaining what in the world is going on. So this is the amended complaint that James Romine filed. He has not elected a trial by jury. I'm going to zoom out on this just a little bit. There we go. New evidence has surfaced where the defendant is also a competitor on the Steam distributor where plaintiff was primarily defamed by defendant's actions. MicroStrategic Designs was a sole proprietor account owned entirely by the plaintiff. Statements made by the defendant aimed at DHS, James Romine, and Robert Romine were then associated to MicroStrategic Devices, which was a full rebrand where the plaintiff set up all future business efforts. Okay, so he's saying that he changed the company or opened a new company, and that one was also targeted by somebody. So it seems like James Romine is amending his complaint to simply allege new defamation, although none of this that I'm reading seems to be defamation. He's saying that the article that the Jimquisition published and tweets by the defendant associated his sole proprietor efforts with DHS and continued the harassment, business disruption, and destruction of plaintiff. He cites these two statements. The story, of course, doesn't end here. Digital Homicide seemingly has a third sock puppet company, MicroStrategic Game Designs. MSGD recently got attrition nuclear domination through Steam Greenlight. It looks terrible, obviously, and was recently removed from the Digital Homicide Complete Pack bundle, demonstrating its link to the infamous studio. I don't see how that's defamatory. Those are more or less accurate facts, and the parts that aren't facts aren't facts. It looks terrible. That's not a fact, that's an opinion. You're allowed to have opinions, it's not defamation to have an opinion. Speaking of which, Digital Homicide also appears to be behind a new website, Bundle Blitz, a code giveaway site with special interest in Steam Greenlight hopefuls. Bundle Blitz heavily featured nuclear attrition recently, though I'm still looking into a definitive link. Again, he's making a connection here. He's not stating an opinion or a misrepresentation of a fact. And so everything that James Romine says happens, that it made it through Greenlight, he paid advertising for it, somehow game keys were lost. As can be seen here, the defendant has stated that DHS has a third sock puppet, and that plaintiff's sole proprietor has been referred to and covered in the article and consequently tweeted displaying no discernible difference between how the defendant speaks in regards to the rebranded plaintiff's sole proprietor, MicroStrategic Designs, the plaintiff, and Digital Homicide. The objective of the defendant is to associate them all, do damage to them all, and destroy them all. Factual events in support of the cause of action. The defendant falsely accused plaintiff and caused damage to reputation. More MicroStrategic Designs accusations. Lost products and advertising exceeds $2 million in market value. He has to prove all of this. This looks a lot like the same complaint rebranded with some new facts, but not really any new content. That sounds an awful lot like his games, doesn't it? The defendant states, yeah, it was, because Digital Homicide is more than just a bad developer. It's had a history of shady and dishonest behavior it was continuing under its new name. The very fact it was damaging the reputation of another company is entirely bad enough, to say nothing of its continued efforts to push games through Greenlight via unscrupulous means. I will not deny the pleasure I take in sticking it to them, but their name is mud for a reason, and people deserve to know it. People deserve to know who's really selling their products. They do. People do deserve to know who's really selling the products. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. Now, shady and unscrupulous behavior, that's close to defamation, if completely untrue. If Mr. Romine can come into court and he can prove, the burden is on him to prove that he is not doing things by unscrupulous means, and then you start to get into an opinion. What's unscrupulous? If he did absolutely nothing at all, and Jim Sterling came out of nowhere and started publishing this guy over here who's doing nothing is unscrupulous, maybe that's defamation, if there's damage. But if James Romine publishes these games and Jim Sterling feels this is unscrupulous, that's an opinion, isn't it? How much of that is a fact? I don't think that's a defamatory fact. This is a really, really unbelievably common misconception of defamation. I'm allowed to say you suck. What I'm not allowed to say, if it's not true, is you're a thief. You steal. You're a child molester, you're a rapist. These are defamatory statements. Yes, defamation can be any misrepresentation of fact that leads to damages, but just saying that Jim Sterling thinks Digital Homicide is rebranding under these efforts and that he thinks they still suck, that's not a defamation. The damage that James Romine suffered is because his products just aren't that great and his handling of customer complaints isn't that great. Anybody who's been in business has handled customer complaints, and frankly, it's the method with which you handle the complaints that kind of defines your customer service. Yes, 90% of your customers won't have complaints if you're good with your business, but some of them will, and some of them are also professional complainers, and you've got to be prepared to handle all of that. And it seems like he's simply not prepared to handle that part of the business. Okay, so at page 37, we're finally at the end of the complaint. And then he has submitted some proof that he paid for some things. Yeah. So this is kind of ridiculous. He didn't really change much. He's alleged that all of these statements against Digital Homicide also hurt him personally. So, here's a cool graph. It looks like James is saying that he had revenue up until Jim Sterling published these allegedly defamatory things, except that, of course, if it's not defamatory, then it's just published facts. It's just his opinion and facts that you suck, and people responded to that and stopped buying his games. That's what shining a flashlight on things does. If it's a good thing, hopefully it brings more good things, and if it's a bad thing, then hopefully it brings things to get rid of the bad thing. I don't know. This seems like the acts of a desperate man. I feel bad, actually, for him, because if he put this much effort into making good games, he could probably make his games better. And it's not too late. I mean, I think that this world is actually, I think the video gaming world is really too forgiving sometimes, that people are given way too many chances to start over and just keep making crappy products. But if James was to put this kind of effort into making better games, he'd probably succeed a little more. And I don't think Jim Sterling is coming after him because he hates James Romine. I think he's coming after him because it's a funny story about a guy who is really easy to make upset by criticizing him. Anyway, I'm looking at my subscriber count, guys, and we're about to hit that magic number 10,000. And I just wanted to say this was a dream of mine to hit 10,000. I'm really thankful. I'm really grateful to you guys, all of you. When I started this was just me goofing around with a camera and talking to the internet. So I just wanted to give you guys a big thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this such a wonderful experience for me. And I will continue to make more videos for you. Like I said before, I'm in the middle of 3 trials this next week, so I'm going to go work on my stuff, preparing for my court appearances. Otherwise, you guys have a good week, and I will see you at the end of this week with another video. I'll probably cover a few of the things that I've mentioned that I wanted to cover, like Star Trek and the Kardashian lawsuit, and I'm sure there will be some new things popping up by then. So thank you very much for watching. Have a great Sunday, and have a great week.